Tamsy and I have Stephanie Wooten Burnett on Zoom. And we are live now so that I can get everything set up. So Ruthie, I have Stephanie Wooten Burnett and I have Tamsy on here. Okay. So I'm going to, I guess, come up to a microphone so that okay, yes. Okay, Kristen.
Are they making you sit by me?
That way if they need to speak, they can. No. That way you can kind of see them and hear them. Gotta love meetings in the time of COVID, right? I think you're good. Are you recording on the, oh, Tony's working on it. It falls up and it's, camera this time.
A different view. We're going on a trip here, guys. We need a microphone down there. So this time I'll be back here. We'll film this way. All right, Ruthie, you're not on camera, so behave yourself.
Okay, you ready? Okay, we're going to call to order the Advisory Planning Commission for the City of Charlestown. We'd like everybody to stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll do a roll call. Brian Hester.
Here.
Wayne Bergen.
Here.
Stephanie Wooten Burton.
Here.
Harold Goodlett.
Here.
Kristen Pickerel.
Here.
Tamsy Muir.
Here.
And Ruthie Jackson here. We're going to start with approval of our previous meeting minutes.
So moved.
I have a first by Councilman Hester,
Second.
second by Mr. Goodlett.
Yes, ma'am.
Any discussion? All right, then all in favor of passing the meeting minutes for Monday, May 11th, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? All right, that is passed. Do we have anybody for public comment? Did anybody sign up for public comment?
Now, when we say public comment, this is not for any of the hearings, this is just a regular public
Okay, so we don't have any for that?
comment. No.
Okay, all right, we have no old business, anybody have any old business? Okay, so we're gonna do our new business. Okay, our new business is, Martin Bailey Inc. is gonna come talk to us about Hucks, is that correct, Tony?
Yes.
Okay.
That'd be me, I guess.
Yeah. I'll figure out how to do it here.
Do I need to talk in the mic?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Don't
if you
mind,
can
please.
come up in the microphone.
Just tell us your name and,
Hogan Helms with Landmark Surveying. I work as their civil engineer. We have proposed a new convenience store there at the end, that will be the southwest corner of State Road 3 and State Road 62. They're looking at putting in a store about 4,000 square feet, I think, with 16 gas pump stations and 4 diesel pump locations. And, we've met with NDOT and started working through that stuff. We proposed 2 entrances onto Pike Street and then 1 entrance onto State Road 62 that we're working with NDOT on getting approved. I believe we've received all the approvals we've needed as far as the drainage board for the city of Charlestown, and everybody we've got squared away with soil and water and things on erosion control. And so now the only thing we're yet to do is get your formal approval and then also to get approval for our entrance from NDOT.
Can we ask questions?
You need to open up.
Okay, open up for questions. I just have one, and it might be for you, Tony, and I know the water pools there. Are we addressing that?
Yes, if you look at the thing that came from Josh Hillman,
Yes. That which you just gave us?
yeah, everything that they
Okay.
proposed to the drainage met our requirement. The state has a little bit more stringent, and they're aware of the pulling there. And as a matter of fact, if you look on here, Josh speaks about how that development will probably help retain it a little bit better.
Okay.
But that's something that NDOT has to address.
Okay.
So that's why when I made the recommendations, if the board decides to approve this, that everything be contingent on approval from the NDOT. Because they've got the right of way say on Market and 62.
And we had, I'll say that we had I had designed the drainage over and above what even NDOT requires, because I had talked to some local people here, Tony as well as some others, that had told me about the flooding issues. And so we're storing twice as much water as what is actually required.
Okay.
And so trying to help as much as we can
Cool.
with that.
And then the street, it's gonna come off Pike Street, correct?
It'll be coming off of Highway 62. They'll have entrance off of Pike Street also, none off of Market.
Okay.
So you'll have the entrance off of Highway 62, and then you'll have the entrance coming off of Pike Street.
There's an existing crossover that's a little bit further to the southwest on 62, and that's where we're looking to gain access
Okay.
from 62, and then we'll have 2 driveways, one on each side of the store from Pike Street.
Okay. Any other questions? Go ahead.
I talked to Tony this morning, or this afternoon, about, you all have the same setup down in Jeffersonville, there at Watson. And you have all those semis that pull in there and just tear up everything. And I wanted to address on the, I guess it'd be on the west side of the property, if you'll make sure that there is a curb there to keep the semis, because you're gonna have all kinds of semis going in and out there.
Okay, you need to keep them from just running straight on Pike Street to kind of.
Well, so they won't drive on the grass and tear up everything.
Okay, yeah, we generally lay out the stores, and Hux likes to put a curbing all around their property, their parking lots, their canopies, their islands, stuff like that, to keep that, because otherwise it becomes a maintenance problem for them as well if they've got semis running off the road and stuff.
Because I see a lot of semis coming to this location more probably than went down to Jarvisville.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one, I guess as much.
What he's speaking about, he's speaking about this, the adjoining property, the curves here, because if not, they're gonna start parking over here.
Correct, yes, we've got curbs on that side of the property, we've got curbs all the way around, anywhere where any traffic would be on their property, there's curbs leading out too. There's no areas that they would be able to drive without having to drive over a 6-inch curb.
Okay. Will there be a sidewalk around the property or?
There'll be a sidewalk around the building, but not around the property per se. There's no sidewalks in that area for us to tie into, I guess.
There's one on Highway 3, isn't there?
Right, but we don't even have access to Highway 3, so we'd have to cut across the property, I guess, to get to it. So we haven't proposed any. You can kind of see there, we've got a detention basin on that side.
That'd be the state of Indiana's property, and they don't like sidewalks on Highway 62.
With that being said, will there be issues with the semis coming up Pike Street as far as the wear and tear on the street, because it's an older street?
No, it's already an industrial park. They're
Park, so
already
it's
doing
okay.
it out there, yeah.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Okay. Shall we take a vote?
So, yeah, let me think. You got the paperwork I sent you, I had made some recommendations. like I said, one recommendation, if the board decides to approve it, is one of the, like to have one of the stipulations is that their drainage plan has to be approved by NDOT for approval. And the second thing is, we had some issues with the zoning maps out there. There's really no clarity to it, like showing Harold today. And, so just to be safe, I went ahead and sent it to the Board of Zoning Appeals. They need a variance for, in that area, per se. They're supposed to have a two-story building. Well, you don't have a two-story gas station. And then there was also a setback, because there's no telling which one's parked in front, so get a variance from the max setback of 22 feet. So what I'm asking this board to do, if you decide to approve it, with the other stipulation would be that upon contingent them getting variance granted to them. So it'll be contingent upon state NDOT approval, and then approval of the Board of Zoning Appeals variance.
So it would be on the BZA approval
Right.
and the state.
Right, and they're meeting right after this one.
Okay. All right, do we have a motion?
Make the motion with Tony's recommendation. I'll second it.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any nays? All right, motion passed. And next we have JFN for Coomer Way to rezone to a PUD. Hello.
Good evening. Got a little PowerPoint that I wanted to walk through with you. I have a lot of things to go over.
That'd be good. Great.
Can you state your name, please?
Yes, for the record, my name is Patrick Dominic. I'm president of SAVAC Wilson Lego Inc., planners and engineers in Louisville, Kentucky. And we're representing JFN LLC on this development proposal. Just want to orient you to the property. The site's about 30 acres, fronts on County Road 403 and Coomer Way, recently built in the last couple of years or so, runs right through the middle of the property, but that shows the property there just at the northern end of the Pleasant Ridge neighborhood. This is a little bit more detailed view showing the roadway and the site conditions around it. We're generally surrounded by R1 and agricultural uses. And we are seeking a planned unit development rezoning of the property. This is an exhibit that was prepared a couple of years ago. Again, when Coomer Way went through the middle of the property, it really created two different tracks. The site overall is about 30 acres. We have 16 acres. The roadway is about 3 acres itself. So we have about 16 acres to the north of Coomer Way and about 11 acres to the south. Existing conditions on the property, generally fairly gentle topography. The major design feature that we've encountered is the intermittent stream in blue that kind of runs through the middle of the property. That's a jurisdictional stream. The Army Corps of Engineers would require permits for any disturbance in that area. And of course, there's a small pond on the property just on the other side of Coomer Way. And a lot of the site drains towards that pond. So the pond itself will provide an important source of stormwater management as we move forward. The property itself, when Coomer Way was constructed, there were 3 large culverts put under the road, 24, 36, and 48-inch culverts. All 3 of those culverts were sized to handle the developed runoff of this proposal. This is our current plan, and let me just remind you of what our request is. We are seeking rezoning, a map amendment for the entire 30 acres. And we're actually only asking preliminary plan approval for this half of the property. That's consistent with your PUD procedures. We have about 11 acres of future use to the south, and there's about 1.5 acres up by Coomer Way. We have no plans to develop, but ideally that would be an ideal commercial site for something. So we want to reserve that with the intent to come back to you when we have detailed plans for those. But again, we're seeking a PUD map amendment for the entire property. Let me go over some details of the plan. You can see we tried to preserve that intermittent stream that runs through the middle of the property. We are proposing 3 styles of housing. The net acreage that we're dealing with is about 14.5 acres, and we are showing 92 residences on that. We have a total of 16 single-family lots. That's in the left, to the left of one of the access roads there, on the left-hand side. 16 single-family detached lots. To the right-hand side of the creek is duplex homes. So there'll be common wall construction on one side and open on the other. In the middle, that's, I don't know what color you call that, but we anticipate constructing townhome style units, and those are a little bit unique in that we're going to have a service drive and access to the units from the back. The homes will front the street like a lot of our older traditional neighborhoods used to be developed with an alley. They call it an alley, we call it a service drive, but the houses are up close to the street, fronting on the sidewalk. Those townhomes will have porches, and it's kind of a wonderful older feel to a new development plan that we're trying to create here. All of these houses sit on their own lot, so they're not condominium in any way. They're all fee simple, and we've got, like I said, 16 single family, 32 duplex lots, and 42 of the townhomes. And a couple of other design features that I just wanted to mention. You can see we don't have any driveways. There will be no driveways, individual driveways going to any of the units off of Coomer Way. This is a public street. The service drive we're proposing as a public street also. That's where garbage collection would happen off of the back end of the unit. But one of the important design features was we didn't really want any of these units backing onto Coomer Way. So as you're driving in Coomer Way, you're either looking at the side of the unit or the front of the unit. The townhome, I don't know if you can see my, I don't think you can see my, the first townhome unit that you drive into, those are facing Coomer Way, and that the service drive is behind that. So again, I think it's just a design feature that, you avoid looking at the backs of units as you go through Coomer Way, and we thought that was an important design consideration, as well as not having any driveways on there. So we have adequate storage capacity at the existing pond to manage our stormwater. There will be sanitary sewer connections into the Pleasant Ridge system, the current pump station. We're currently working on those designs at this time to coordinate how we're going to construct a sewer system. But there's all other utilities. There's water in Clark Street in Pleasant Ridge, and of course there's water in County Road 403. So the site's well served by utilities. We think the site plan respects the natural features, minimizes disturbance to the stream, and creates a really walkable kind of special little residential neighborhood. We do have some design standards. We set some setbacks up for each of the housing styles. Those are part of the development plan. This is a breakdown of the acreages and densities that are proposed. The lot sizes for the single family, for example, are proposed at 60 by 120. The duplex lots are about 80 by 87. And the townhomes are 90 by 24 foot wide by 90 foot deep. So we have a net density of about 7.8 units to the acre on that side of the development. This is our open space plan. It's an important part of the planned unit development. And like I said, the total acreage is about 30 acres. We're only asking 16 approval for this initial 16 acres of the site. We've got about 3.09 acres, so we're roughly about 20% open space, which is well in excess of the 10% that is required by your PUD regulations. The common green area there, where it says 0.85 acres, is important to point out because we've got cluster mailboxes at a couple of different locations. So the residents will pick up their mail there as they head to their residence, as they head to their residence. But we've tried to create some usable green space in the front of these units. So it was never our intent to pack every square foot full of residential housing. I think the open space adds some clear benefit to the townhomes. And the same with the little circular drive we did on the duplex side. It allows all of those units to face the road, still have a common open space element there with the cluster mailbox. And we just felt these were really appropriate design features for the style of housing we were proposing. Just a couple of comments, and these are citations that are in your zoning ordinance. I think it said residential subdivisions that incorporate these types of amenities and mixed uses are encouraged to be developed through the PUD process. It also states the flexibility in design and variety of uses, densities, dwelling types, shared services, all should be developed through the PUD process. And lastly, the aim to improve pedestrian access. We have sidewalks clearly throughout the entire neighborhood, even fronting on the open space, so that people are actually walking across the green space on the sidewalk to get access to their residence. And we're providing, I think, the appropriate design standards for the style of housing that we're proposing. Couple of things from your comprehensive plan. We are located in this blue area. This is a mixed-use district. I think it's page number 35 of your comprehensive plan. And similar to the PUD, there's a lot of language that talks about a pedestrian-oriented feel and a mix of uses and pedestrian-scaled streetscape. I think we've tried to take all of those to heart and incorporate that into this first phase of this neighborhood. We do have some samples of the housing styles. I think in terms of pricing, a single-family detached homes will probably be in the area of $225, $250. Several different styles of what those will look like. 2-car garages. These are the duplexes. A little bit smaller lot. Again, it's kind of along the same theme, maybe a little bit more of a craftsman style. And we can go 2-story as well as 1-story with those duplexes. And then the townhomes that we really kind of like the sidewalk and the entry and these kind of units with their front porches overhanging the green space as you go down there. Or right on the streetscape. I think that's what creates the pedestrian-friendly feel that a lot of our great older neighborhoods used to have. So With that, I'm gonna open it up for questions. Again, what we're asking for is a map amendment change on the entire property, and we're asking for preliminary plan approval for this part to the north. So if you have any questions, you okay?
Thank you. Anybody, any questions for him? Anybody have some?
The two entrance ways, once you go up into, I guess, the townhome,
Yes.
where the red or wherever it is, the pink, how wide are those? And is it just a dead end, you just drive straight in?
No, we don't have any dead ends in there. Which one?
You can come up if you need
Yeah,
to.
let me just make sure what we're talking about.
Yes, you can.
Are you talking about
Yeah.
that street? No.
No, it's not a dead end. It wraps all the way around to the top.
Okay.
It's continuous. And like I said, we expect, trash collection to be handled there. It's wide enough, it's a 15-foot drive is what we're proposing. We clearly want to distinguish the service drive from our public streets. And to do that, I think we go with a little narrower width, certainly not a lot of traffic back there. By design, there's not a lot of traffic back there, it's just the owners.
Yeah, but if you have to put a fire truck or a ladder truck through there,
Right,
it's
right.
gonna be kinda hard to do that.
Well, I think the 15-foot should still be able to handle that, and there's no sharp turns there, so my expectation is that could still be accommodated.
The only other question I had, from like 403 along Coomer Way, will there be a sidewalks through there?
Well, we hadn't thought about that. I think when the commercial site gets developed and we could have access from these residents to the commercial site, I think it might make sense to extend some sidewalks down there. I know Pleasant Ridge doesn't have any sidewalks. There aren't any sidewalks currently on 403. Our intent is when the 11 acres gets developed, we'll have connections across internal to the development. But I think right now, we were not anticipating sidewalks on Coomer Way.
The reason I say that, like, I know this is far out, several years down the road, but, if you want TARC or anything like that, right now they run to Sellersburg and they run up to the plant or the ICI, whatever you call it, River Ridge, up to Charleston Jet Pike. Eventually, we could get, come from Sellersburg to Charlestown to Jeff, roundabout. And they won't stop unless you have a sidewalk, like if it was on 403. I know 403 needs to be widened, and eventually will, but you have a sidewalk going up to it, they can stop there, pick people up and go on. It looks like you're gonna have enough people in that area.
We could probably put that stop at 403, frankly, and get a sidewalk down to 403 that way.
They're at a turn lane and a blister lane on 403 now.
Right.
I don't know what the plans are in the future for 403 and sidewalks, but it's, I appreciate your comment on the TARP service, or bus service down there. That might be a good way to do that. Just put the bus stop maybe on 403.
What's your price point on the townhome?
Townhomes were about 180. I'm sorry if I missed that.
And the duplex?
The duplex were about 200. 180 to 200 to about 225 to 250. There are some more details, just by way of the PUD process, and it's a little bit different because we're gonna come back to you with a final plan. There's a lot of details have to be worked out. But I think we wanted to seek map amendment change here and at least the preliminary approval of what we had so that we can finalize all of our details and come back to you for the final plan.
Okay. Any other questions? So do I have?
How will the entrance on 403 change? The entrance to Coomer Way is pretty abrupt at this point.
They are adding a turning lane and a blister lane that's already in the works as of right now.
Okay.
Anybody else? All right, we have a motion to accept,
Public comment.
oh, I'm sorry. I didn't do that on purpose.
No.
Do we have public comment?
Yeah.
Okay.
Please remember to speak into the microphone so that we can hear you. You can bend the microphone down.
Thank you, because I'm like, oh, last. My name is Melissa Crawford. I live at 344 Clark Road. The pump station that the petition filed by JFN to be discussed tonight is located in our backyard. I'm here tonight because I have some concerns and questions about adding the additional 93 dwelling units to be built on Coomer Way to the existing pump station as requested in the petition. Number one, my concern is how old is that pump station? My research shows that the average age of a pump station is between 15 and 25 years, depending on maintenance of the station. And I'm sure that the pump station in question is close to the 20-year lifespan, if not past that. I do know, Patrick and I have been married a little over 20 years, and while I was there and we were married, I do know they came and put a new motor in. That's really the only thing that I know has been done to that pump station. Okay, and the same developer that wants to develop on Coomer Way, John Neese, owns 2/3 of the lots in Pleasant Ridge subdivision, most of which are vacant at this time. But if the developer does what I've been told he promises to do, he will be building affordable, moderate homes to replace the ones that he has taken down. And I assume those will be hooked up to the existing pump station at 344 Clark Road, as the others were. Can that pump station maintain the developer's future Pleasant Ridge properties that are gonna be rebuilt in the additional 93 plus dwelling units that they wanna add now? And also, are those other units then going to be going to that pump station? My concern is that pump station is just not gonna be able to handle all that. Let's see, I've got 3 minutes. Okay. And in a roundabout way, this affects the pump station. The storm drain behind 334 Hampton and 344 Clark Road is completely blocked. Duke Energy, or one of the companies that came to trim the trees away from the power lines, cut the trees and just left them lay. So, years and years of excess trash that has traveled through that storm drain and accumulated there, and the fallen trees. I've lived there over 20 years, and that has never been cleaned up or checked. Nobody's ever been back to check that storm drain. When it rains, the water cannot follow that original path that it's supposed to follow. So what it's done, because of the trees and the debris, it has started following another path, which leads to a sinkhole. And it's really washing away bad with the heavy rains. There are huge trees there that roots are starting to show, and they're gonna fall. So, and also, the lack of flow only adds to our existing mosquito problems from the properties around us with the high grass and standing water. We can't really enjoy the evening because of the mosquitoes. And like I said, the lack of drainage is washing away the ground around some very large trees, and they're gonna fall. And even more, it's gonna cause, as they fall, it's gonna cause more erosion and possibly causing trees to fall and damaging homeowner properties. This has already happened twice in the past. and the homeowners had to pay for the damage to their properties because of the neglect. This is a serious problem, and it needs to be addressed before any petition for use of that pump station is granted. If not, the whole pump station could eventually be destroyed by fallen trees and inadequate flow and excessive debris on the city property. It is not that I am against the development on Coomer Way. I just want to make sure that it is a fair and smart decision by considering the developer's plans with the property he already owns in Pleasant Ridge and the possible expense to the city and the residents of Charlestown in the future if the current pump station is not adequate and it reaches its capacity before he completes his plans for building in Pleasant Ridge. This is a very important decision and should not be rushed until all existing problems and potential future problems are carefully thought through. I do thank you for allowing me to make public comment. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more public comment?
I just have a question.
Can you come up, please?
I really don't want to. I just have a question. You said how many units per acre you're going to build so close together?
7?
Seven
Yeah,
per-
it's over 7.
Seven per-
units. Yeah.
Per acre?
Yes.
That seems awfully close to me.
Any other public comment?
I have a comment.
Okay.
Matthew Toole, Infinity Homes and Development, and of course, I have a little bias because I'd love to build the homes in this development, but I have a development in Corydon that, this is in reference to the per acre comment that was just given, and they're doing something similar to this that backs up to a nursing home. And the duplexes, and maybe not the townhomes, because the townhomes not yet, but the duplexes and the single family homes were very much a positive to the community. So I can see what she's saying about the units per acre, but it really does complement the nursing home, and it does complement the community, and is close to all the amenities that Corydon had to offer. So I definitely think this is very complementary to what Charlestown has to offer as well, and trying to get the townhomes in the mix to get more affordable housing. It's very difficult with the inflation and the pricing increases that we had to build affordable housing. And I think this is an opportunity to get that. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Are we gonna build a nursing home behind all that? That's,
She needs to come up and say her.
I don't know.
Can I respond?
No, well, she needs to state her name. I'm sorry. Before, you need to come up and state your name, ma'am, so that we can have your name and address on record, please.
I'm Debbie Fellinger. I live on 403, just down a little bit from where this is all taking place.
And your address.
We have just under 3/4 of an acre. And I wouldn't wanna be right on top of everybody. I'm
Right.
sorry.
And what's your address on 403?
9210.
Okay. All right, thank you. Okay.
So let me respond to the question about sewers and drainage. We have our own pump station that we're building that's gonna handle our 93 units. And, but we are gonna be pumping that essentially to the Pleasant Ridge pump station. So we've been in discussions. We've met with your sewer authority, we've met with Josh Hillman, and we're in the process of looking at that design. Frankly, the comments that came out about the Pleasant Ridge pump station were really pretty favorable, that the pump station was really in pretty good shape, that it was operating pretty efficiently. And that may be from the fact that it was obviously designed to handle many more houses that aren't there anymore. So I appreciate the comment. It's an important consideration that we have to look at. And like I said, we're gonna bring a final plan in with details and specifications for the sanitary sewer system with our final plans. And I'd like to address all of those at that time. I think that's appropriate. But with also the comment about drainage too, and you know, every neighborhood meeting I ever go to, there's comments about drainage. We always hear that. And we are able to manage our own stormwater on site with the pond, and we have another detention. Once the 11-acre site gets developed, we will be able to provide more than adequate detention to help manage our runoff on site. It's a unique circumstance. Oftentimes, you're having to do some kinds of engineering gymnastics to try to make things work. I think we have a pretty good system here that we can avoid any impacts to the Pleasant Ridge neighborhood with our stormwater management. Let me see, I can't remember if there was another question.
Well, nursing,
From what?
nursing home.
Yeah, I know the owner is having discussions with different people on that 11 acres, but we're not able to, there's nobody in line yet to develop that. We've called it specialty residential, specialty multifamily on our plan. We'd like to do something like that, but, you know, until we can work out an arrangement with somebody, that's going to have to be for a future discussion.
Any other comments?
Can I take a close look at that map, please? I can't see it behind here.
Oh, I'm sorry. One other thing about the density. Let me talk about the density for a minute. Now I'm gonna go back to that original slide that I had in here. It's in your comprehensive plan. That blue area talks about mixed use. And there's a lot of language in your comprehensive plan that supports higher density in this location. The mix of uses is appropriate. I think the designs, when you see the character of the houses and the different styles, how they work together, I think it's gonna make a great community with mixed incomes at mixed price points. And I think that's what that whole district was set up to do.
Could you get back on that
Yeah.
first slide, please?
Can you state your name, please?
My name is Bryce Bashaw.
I didn't know you were saying it.
Bryce Bashaw.
Okay, right. And your address?
8818 403.
Okay.
I couldn't see the map back there, so all the development on here is gonna be on the Charlestown side of Cooler Lane?
Yes.
The 11 acres, is that where you say there's possibly gonna do a nursing home or retirement home?
Mixed facilities.
The lower section, the future use?
He said there was nobody interested yet. There's.
But I mean, it's gonna eventually be developed.
Yeah, but as of right now, there's no plan for it.
Okay. That's all I need. Thank you.
Thank you.
To address Mrs. question, give her an answer for what she was talking about, we already spoke to developers. When we first met with them, we had Josh Hellman, the city engineer, Mike Perry, and their developers, and we all got together, and the same questions you asked, what we asked about, you know, the plant, you know, we addressed that issue, and they did the calculation on it, and it's really good, like you said, it surprised me that it was. And then you asked about, which was a good point, because Mike asked the same question, what are we gonna do when they start developing the other one? Well, it has that capacity, and, but everything that gets approved, Josh Hillman did approve their plan, but anytime anything gets approved, it has to get approved by IDEM also. So when it comes time to do the other part, then they'll have to go in and redo calculations, and if they wanna build there, they'll have to rather increase it or fix it or whatever we get told needs to be
It
done.
goes the same way when they decide to, if they decide to rebuild in Pleasant Ridge,
Mhm.
then they'd have to go to IDEM
So
to
I didn't,
make sure
yeah,
that.
anytime you increase, you have to do that, yeah.
Thank you.
All that, you bring up a good point, all that was considered, like I said, Mike Perry brought up potential future use of Pleasant Ridge also, so it was addressed, if that helps you.
Thank you.
I didn't know, IDM is the Indiana Department of Environmental Management. They control sewers and flush vision and the environment. That's what IDM stands for.
All right, any other comments? So we have a motion on the table to accept JFN Kimmerway rezone to a PUD. First,
Yeah, I'll move to accept it.
okay. All in favor, say aye. Yes. Oh, I thought, do we have a second? I'm sorry.
Yes, I'll second.
Okay. We have a first by Mr. Goodwin and a second by Mr. Hester. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? All right, motion approved. We have nothing else, so I need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
I got a motion by Mr. Hester, second by Mr. Hester.